Welcome to the Sideline Live podcast. Subscribe for more episodes and follow our social media at the Sideline Live. We'd love to hear from you. On episode 24, I'm delighted to be joined by Shippensburg University freshman and Irish underage international Eve Nealon. On this episode, we had a brilliant chat about her career, getting over her ACL injury, her path to the States, and much more. I really hope you enjoyed the episode. Hi Eve, thanks a million for coming on the podcast.
No problem, thanks for having me.
Can you give a bit of an intro to the listeners who might not know who you are?
Yeah, so my name is Eve Nealon. I'm currently a freshman at Shippensburg University in Pennsylvania in the USA. I spent 1 year in prep school at the Hill School, which is about 2 hours from where I am now. Last year before I had to get sent home in March because of COVID, but at the moment I'm at home just studying remotely because my season got cancelled, but looking forward to going back in August.
Very good. So we're going to go back to kind of growing up. What sparked the interest in basketball? What got you playing?
I was a really sporty kid. Like, I come from a really sporty family, so I was kind of encouraged to play everything when I was younger. I was a big GA person too, so
Okay, yeah.
it was like camogie, football, soccer. I love soccer too. Like, I played that up until like second or third year before I like picked up basketball like really seriously.
Yeah.
And I would say like basketball was kind of in the back of my mind growing up.
Okay.
I probably didn't start it till later, like maybe I was 12 or 13 and started off on like my Limerick Celtics under 12 B team. Like I was that good. Like.
And what made you stick with it if you weren't maybe having so much success?
Well, I will say I'm a very competitive person, so
Okay.
I'll say like I realized I was bad and then I changed that pretty quickly. And I'm also like I wear contact lenses the whole time, so like I couldn't shoot up until about 2 years ago maybe, because I was quick as a kid, so I just like drive to the basket all the time, and like
Yeah.
I couldn't be left either. So
yeah, that's mad.
And
yeah, and do your siblings play at all?
Yeah, I have 5 siblings, so I'm the eldest. So all my sisters play. So my 3 sisters play basketball, and they'd be like fully invested in it too. My mom's pretty involved in the club as well.
Okay.
So yeah.
Who's winning 1-on-1?
It's not even close. Like
it's not even close.
No, my one sister is in 6th year now. She hasn't kind of picked up basketball since like everything's been shut down, and she's in 6th year, so she's focused on her study. Okay. But my other 2 sisters are 13. No, yeah, will be 13 and 11. So. Oh,
okay, right. I get it now. Tara, is it? She sent in saying, "Who's your favorite sister?"
Did she actually say that? That was funny.
And then you were saying it was the 2nd or 3rd year you started to really take basketball seriously. What kind of sparked that?
So my coaches in Limerick Celtics were Michelle Aspel and Tony Hare, and obviously Michelle is like one of the greats in women's like Irish basketball. Mm-hmm. And just the way she coached was like so different to anything I've had like in like my soccer teams or like GA, whatever. They're just like, conventional coaches. They get mad when you do something wrong, and like not inspire you, but like motivate you and congratulate you and all the usual stuff. But Michelle was just so different. Like, she just like sparked you like in a way that like no other coaches did. And just like when you think you do something right, she wouldn't say anything to you, and you do something wrong, she'd bite your head off. And like getting like gratification from her meant so much more than any other coach.
Yeah I know what you're saying.
Even the slightest bit of like you did something right and you were just set for the week, like so
you were chuffed. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so her and Tony, her husband, are just 2 like huge basketball brains, and I was like surrounded with them because Tony was my school coach in secondary school. So I kind of didn't know any other coaching besides them, because they would take over all like our North Munster teams and stuff like that.
Okay.
Up until like age maybe 15 or 16 maybe, and at that stage like I had kind of gotten into like the NBA and especially like college basketball in the States, and just like with how like being a competitive person, with how like much time you can invest just to perfect it. I don't even know how to explain it properly, but it's just like the process of getting better, like seeing results and stuff like that really kind of grasp me more than camogie or maybe soccer. And I also like I knew I wanted to like take myself far with basketball. Like I
Okay.
saw that avenue that I could go down, like we're going to the States or representing your country. Like it's just not something you can do for camogie or football.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I know what you're
so that's
saying.
what kind of
And
grasped me as well.
yeah, and was Michelle kind of that person that sparked that interest in going really far with basketball, or was there a particular person that you said, "Oh, I want to go to the States because they did it," or play for Ireland because they did?
I would say, yeah, play for Ireland probably because of Michelle. Like I went to under 16 trials when I was like of age,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just an open trial, and like was terrible. Like it was so bad. Didn't
Okay.
get a call back. Like
Oh
so
right. Okay. Yeah.
no, very bad. Like
Okay.
um, like I played well most of the trial, but then like when the head coach came over, I just choked. Like
Yeah. Okay.
And then later on that year, I went for under 17 trials, and
Mm.
Michelle kind of asked me, was I going to go to the under 17 open trial? And I was kind of like in the back of my head, I was like, why would I go for an older age group when I didn't even make under 16, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was like, no, just go for it. Like, why would you not go for it? So I went to the open trial, and like that was the 17 team that turned into the 18s team, and I ended up going to that Euros.
Wow.
And I was like literally this close to not going to it because I was just like, why?
Yeah.
And the thing was, like, I knew I could have got onto that under 16 team, but I
Yeah.
knew that I choked on the day. And like, if
Okay.
I was a coach and I didn't know me and I saw that, like, I wouldn't pick you. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I know what you're saying. So that really drove you on. Then when you choked, you were like, right. You're probably like in your head, probably subconsciously, you're probably like, right, I'm not doing that again, even if you didn't think it yourself.
yeah, because there is like when you're that young, and you're trying to pick the talent that you want on your team, like there's no telling like who like in a 2-year program who's going to get better like
Yeah.
drastically and who's just going to, stay the same. When you're that young, like it's hard to tell.
Yeah. Definitely.
So there is a lot of politics that go into it, and being in a North Munster league, like we win it, Celtics would have win it like every single year. That's why
Okay.
we're in the Cork League too, and that's where we get better competition. But the bigger leagues like the Cork League and like Dublin and stuff would get a lot more exposure, and I suppose you hear those names more,
Yeah.
a little bit, especially when you're that young. So that kind of fed into it a bit. I don't think my name was out there as much as maybe other names were, which is
Okay. Yeah.
understandable. And
Yeah.
um, that kind of put me off a little bit. I was like, yeah, well, I didn't make it, even though I know I could have gotten at least a call back.
Yeah.
So it's like, kind of F them, like, I don't really care now.
Yeah.
And then she kind of said, like, well, why wouldn't you go for the 17 team? And that like all turned out pretty well.
Yeah. Exactly. And did you play with Sive growing up?
Yeah, so she came to Celtics, I think, so she's 1 year younger than me, but she came
Oh, okay.
when I was under 12, so she would have, or was it maybe, no, under 14, I'd say, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And what was that like
So
playing with her?
well, she was very raw when she came. Like
Oh,
love
okay.
Sive and
Right.
everything. Love
Sive, if
Sive.
you're listening.
Love Sive. No, Sive was great. And like we had a lot of guards on our team. So
Okay.
it was great finally having some height on our team. I will
Yeah.
definitely say that. But no, Sive was great playing up with her. Like just having that,
Little
I really
1-2
knew we were
punch
all
kind of
guards
thing.
on our team. Like when someone would
Oh,
set me a
really?
screen, it would just be switched all the time because we were all guards. So it was finally great getting a post player that we could
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
have some action with. Like
Deadly. And chat to me about that under 17 team. You were saying that was that the program that went to the Euros, or was that? Oh, how did that work?
that was yeah. So like we for each program you start under 17 and then you make several cuts and then that whole team grows together and then goes to Euros.
Oh, okay.
Um so oh yeah, so we started off as like a 36 person panel or whatever, and that was with
Mm-hmm.
like Patrick O'Neill and Suzanne McGuire.
Mm-hmm.
So then when we were at 36 on the panel, and that was when the year ahead of us, so those who were like under 18
Yeah.
like at that same time, that's when the Euros was in Dublin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were going to those games. This was maybe like 6 months or whatever into our like program, and
Yeah.
realizing that they were gonna like come first, second, or third, so we were gonna get promoted and go to a Division A Euros, like whoever made the team.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, like 6 of those girls who were on the team in Dublin were eligible to come next to play under 18 the next year. So
Yeah.
really, like there's 36 of us on this panel. there's kind of only 6 spots that are like on the team. Like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because
it
you
was a
have to
bit
compete
mad
with the
when you
girls
look back
there.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit mad. But no, it was great getting to see like those games up close. And that was my first experience of a Euros, like just watching
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Um and it was like so exciting and like the level was just amazing.
Yeah.
Uh and I kind of like when I was starting on the 36 person panel, like I wasn't like I would blend in with most of them. Like I wasn't a standout or anything. Like
Yeah.
I had a good trial, like the
Hmm.
way that I was picked onto the team, but I wouldn't have like been the clear one of the
Yeah.
six to come out of it. Like
Yeah. I know what you're saying. How did you find? You were saying you were impressed by the level of play in with that Division A, or sorry, with the Dublin,
mm.
with the Europeans in Dublin. What was the biggest sort of like eye opener for you? Was it the pace? Was it just strength, skill? What was that?
Yeah, just like yeah, definitely the pace and when like players make something look so easy and you just
Yeah.
know it's not. You're like
Yeah.
you just know that there's a gap there. You're like, wow, like how did they make that look that easy? Just like players getting to spots and making
Mm.
their shots, and you're like, I wouldn't be able to get that in a club game in Limerick. Like, and they get open in the Euros, like, and
Yeah.
make a shot, like, especially the game. I think was it against Poland,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
In I think it was in the National Basketball Arena, and especially and like the atmosphere just added to it then because
Yeah.
you're in this kind of smaller sized arena than the ones in Europe where like they're huge and they've like 1,000 or like thousands of seats,
Yeah.
like the National Basketball Arena. You fit everyone in and it's just like electric.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, definitely the pace and the atmosphere and just like the chippiness kind of as well. Like every play mattered,
Hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean. It was like, geez, if you turn the ball over, like, and it's really close, like you've nearly thrown the game at one
Yeah.
stage. Like, yeah, I know what you're saying.
Mm.
What was that like then? So when that Euros finished, and I presume the six would have got involved with whoever was on that under 17 panel.
Yeah.
Then, what was that like when the girls were coming in with their experience and you were trying to make the team? I'd say it was really competitive at training.
Yeah. So I'd say at that point there was probably one cut made during
Okay.
that summer, like while the Euros was on. I'd say by the time they joined us, because they obviously got a break,
Mm.
by the time they joined us, we were probably at like 18 maybe.
Okay.
Plus those six would be like 24.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, it was definitely competitive. It was a lot, like it was a big step up because you go from playing with like a ton of girls kind of at one level to, I'm just a little bit above that level. And then I'm playing with
Yeah.
all these girls that are just so much more above me.
Yeah.
And they had all just won a silver medal in the Euros as well. So it kind of humbles you a little bit, like,
Yeah. Okay.
but I was just so grateful, like getting to like be able to train with them every like once a month or whatever it was,
Yeah.
and just learn from them and like learning the tricks and stuff like that.
Okay.
That's something I really took.
What were those
From
tricks? You can share them all here and expose them.
well, I don't know. One that comes to mind is just when we were practicing one weekend. I think it must have been like a holiday because we were up in Belfast for like 3 or 4 days, maybe 3 days, yeah. And I remember Brona was like posted me up. I don't know how I ended up on her, but Brona had posted me up and just like the way she like spun on me and just used her elbow and like
Yeah.
no ref would ever see it, but like the way she did it, like there was no way I was getting to her.
Okay. Okay.
It just
Brona,
took
if you're
like
listening.
yeah.
Yeah. And what was that? And what was the training like in terms of like you were saying like the step up? What was so different about that level that those girls were at? Like what were those intangibles? Like you were saying with Brown and the little tricks, but was
Mm.
it just experience? Was it what was that just really elevated them?
Um just I'd probably say like they'd been playing longer and had better like experience. And that's like obviously that's only you can only control that so much.
Mm.
But I remember like guarding Dana and like she just always be moving. And it's something that my club coach like Tony would say to me all the time, like, don't stand still. And
Hmm.
like you hear it, but you're like, oh, I'm not standing still, I'm moving a little bit. But she was
Yeah.
really moving. Like she would cut
Okay.
and back door and you'd look away for a second and she'd be gone again.
Okay.
Um, and she was just such a challenge, like to Mark. Same with Nicole Clancy as well. I remember like if you like were one, two far steps off her, she like could get the ball and hit a shot.
Okay.
Same with
Right.
Enya as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Crazy.
That's mad. Yeah.
It's just
And what was
those
that? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
seconds and millimeters kind of thing that kind of separate you.
Yeah. And what was that like then? So when was the final cut? It must have been. Was it close enough to the Euros, or was it probably a bit away?
I think it was probably start of May before the
Hmm.
Euros was in August.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you like? If you were to kind of, I know maybe you won't be able to see it, but let's say your coaches or your parents, if you were to kind of look back to when you were under 16 and you didn't get a call back to, you made the Irish squad for the year above.
Yeah.
What was the difference? Was it confidence? Obviously, your skill level and everything would have improved, but what was the biggest sort of improvement that you saw or people would have seen?
I would probably say confidence. Like I would say I always had the potential and like kind of raw skill,
Mm.
but like I went to that 16s trial and choked. It was just because I wasn't confident like
Yeah.
in my abilities. But like going up against like it was cut from 24 to probably 18 or
Okay.
17 and then to the final 12. But for those few months where I was at 17, like I kind of just didn't really like pay attention to who I was playing against. I was just playing
Yeah.
against the people who were in front of me and, judging them just based on, what they're doing that day, not like any accolades that they had about like over me or like,
Yeah.
what they've achieved that I haven't or anything like that. And it's not like disregarding them, like obviously they're great
Yeah.
players and or like offending them.
Yeah.
But for me it was just like I'm here for a reason and like I deserve to be here and there's no reason why I couldn't make the last 12.
Yeah. I love that. I was actually talking to, it was an intercounty football, and he was saying the same thing, kind of like, because I'd asked him about playing against someone from Kerry, I think it was, it could have been Johnny O'Shea, I can't remember, but he was saying like you can't go in with stars in your eyes, like, and I'm not saying like you went in with stars in your eyes, but you
Yeah,
can't look at who they are. It's just like number 5, right? Like I'm just going to guard
yeah,
her and I'm just going to try to take the ball off her. And was
yeah.
there anything in particular? Did you ever have to work on that confidence, or did that confidence just come with training with those girls and kind of realizing, look, I can really keep up here, I can really put it up to them?
I'd say that I definitely committed myself to like going and getting extra work in a lot.
Okay.
That was fourth year that I kind of tried out for the team. So
Mm.
obviously I had a lot of time that year to like train and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And going into fifth year then as well, I just kept that up. And whether I was right or not, like in my head, I was doing a lot more work than anyone else in the team.
Yeah.
And I could be completely wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in my head, I was waking up early, like getting shots in before school, staying after school. In the summer, like just literally going to the gym every day. Um, and like even like when it came down to like nutrition and sleep and stuff, wasn't that good back then, but like definitely now is a
Mm.
huge part of like what I do to just, you know, keep that self-confidence that like I'm doing more than
Mm.
my competitor.
Yeah.
And when it comes to getting in the gym and playing against them, uh, that self-confidence is just kind of natural. And like
Mm.
I'm not going into the gym thinking, well, I've done more than you, so I'm going to be better than you.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like there's less doubt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Because there's a couple of people who've put in questions for whether it's takeover or podcasts, and they're kind of that younger age that want to make Irish squads, and they're kind of probably where
Yeah.
you were, like, and can you just kind of give a bit of advice to them that on hard work and kind of getting in the gym, like, was there anything in particular that maybe that you did, or maybe a mistake you made that, like, geez, I should have done this, or I'm really glad I got the shots up before school?
Yeah, I think for me, and I still do this now, getting like extra work in the morning really
Mm.
like is it's just kind of a mental edge.
Mm.
Like even in the summer going like at 7 or 8 even like not
Yeah.
leaving it till like 6 o'clock or whatever. First of all, you're more likely to do it, and like if something comes up, you could miss the 6 o'clock workout.
Mm.
But getting up early and just being like disciplined like that is something that kind of gives you an extra edge,
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
exactly. I know what you mean. You kind of
yeah,
you look to those what are those days, and Ball is Life, Day in the Life in the States, and they're all getting up at
yeah,
like 5 o'clock in the morning and doing like a
yeah.
2 hour
A lot of
workout
that's
before
for show
school.
now, but like
Yeah, yeah, definitely,
at the same time,
definitely.
the point is there, like you get your work done early, and then
Yeah.
you can still like without spending 12 hours in the gym because like no one
Mm.
needs that. Like I'm
Yeah,
talking about like 2 hours max. You
yeah,
get up and you get it done, and then you can focus on the rest of your day.
Yeah, exactly. You're dead right. And chat to me about those Euros, because was it in Italy where Division
Yeah,
A
Italy,
was?
yeah.
It must have been roasting.
Yeah. We had played a couple games, like a warm-up tournament in France earlier that summer. So
Okay.
we were kind of we had played in the heat before, but like it was still bad.
Yeah.
Um yeah, especially like those gyms and you just have to leave the doors open and stuff like that. But once you got to the actual court, it was okay because it'd be so open. But
Okay.
um yeah, I was in North Italy and it was obviously the first time Ireland was at the A Euros.
Hmm.
So for me, it was like, this was what the Euros were. But for the girls who had been to three or four, it was
Yeah.
like, wow, this is like a change from B. So
Okay.
I didn't
Right.
have that perspective.
Mm.
But yeah, I remember a couple of them like saying a couple comments about how it was different.
Okay. What was those? Was it more the things off the court that they found
Yeah,
a
it would be
difference?
like I think more like the media stuff and
Okay.
obviously the players you're going against. Like I remember we didn't play Germany, but watching them play, one of the
Yeah.
girls there who was like pretty like scouted and like recruited. Her name was Niara Sabali, and she's playing at Oregon now and just made like the Pac-12 team.
Wow. How
Yeah,
like
yeah.
wow. Like, and what was that like? Did you get to see many games then of the other teams?
Yeah, I just remember her because we watched the final, which was Germany Spain, and Germany like beat Spain by like 20 or 30 points. Like,
Wow. Okay.
um, but I don't really remember. Oh, there was actually another girl for Germany, uh, Leonie Fiebig or something like that. Probably saying it wrong, but
Yeah.
she's in the WNBA. Yeah,
Oh
got
wow.
drafted.
Well,
Yeah,
there you go. That's the
yeah,
level that can go to Division A. Gee,
yeah.
Keely Mac. That's mad. And what was that like then? So talk us through the games for our like Ireland. I know I won't give it away, but talk us through those games.
Yeah. So our pool that we were put in was with Poland, France, and the Czech Republic. I want to say.
Mm.
Um, So our first game was Poland and we lost. It wasn't a wipeout, but it was like we knew going into the Euros that we weren't going to get gold medals, you know. We
Yeah.
were our goal was to just not get relegated,
Hmm.
and be able to stay up. So in order to not get relegated, you have to not finish in the bottom three teams in the
Okay.
whole tournament. So
Hmm.
if you win one game in your pool, you automatically won't finish like in the bottom three. So our
Okay.
goal was first of all, win one game in our pool, and we
Hmm.
thought Poland was probably our most winnable game.
Yeah.
Um, and unfortunately, we lost that one.
Okay.
Um, Probably just a mixture of a bad start, and they kind of came out stronger.
Hmm.
And we were just a little bit shaken, like from the outset.
Yeah.
Uh, and then France, we played. I think they were ranked eighth, like going into the tournament. So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was
They were
France.
going in. They were going in for a medal, sort of thing. The
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
different mentality. And I'm interested here as well. What's the because I've never been to Euros and most listeners won't have either. What's the prep like before a game and kind of the recovery after? Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yeah. So you usually practice the day before. I think, yeah, it's a long time ago now. So
Yeah, sorry.
I think it's the day before,
Yeah.
but and then depending on what time your game is, you might get a shoot around like on the day. But
Okay.
after that, then it's just like go back to the hotel, just kind of relax. Obviously, you do film usually the night before. For Poland, we would have had a good bit of film done because we knew like it was our first game straight away. We knew we were going to play them.
Yeah.
Um, and kind of our scouting and game plan go over
Mm-hmm.
that like the night before. And then the day of, it would just be getting up, getting some like foam rolling recovery stuff in,
Mm-hmm.
eat, and then go to the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing, kind of a long warm up, just like usually upstairs in like a different room or something, just
Oh,
stretching stuff like
okay.
that.
Yeah.
Any like physio work you need done, and then um on court usually like an hour beforehand, and just getting your own shots up for a while, and then usually at like 40 minutes to go, you start like your main warm up like as a team.
Okay. Yeah. And would you have any sort of individual, sort of not routine, but like practice things that you would have done by yourself on the court?
Um, Not really. I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't really.
You
I don't
wouldn't be
think
into
so.
that. You wouldn't
No,
do the
not very
Steph
superstitious.
Curry, the Steph Curry two basketball
shoes,
warm
socks.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was it like afterwards? Because I presume there would have been like sort of ice baths and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know if we had ice baths, but yeah, you definitely like ice and stuff like that. When we got back to the hotel as well, like a lot of you'd have your meal and then like any recovery and extra like snacks and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. And was it after the pool games then? So you lost the 3 pool games, and then what happened then? Was there 2 games after that?
Yeah, 2 games. I think I'm not sure if you are Czech Republic. I think that could have been our first. I don't think they were in our pool. I think that was our first non-pool game.
Okay.
Because I don't remember scouting them as deeply as we did our pool games. Oh, you know what? We ended up playing Russia as well. I think Russia could have been the first non-pool game, which
yeah,
everyone
they're
loves to
probably
hear
going.
those words. Like, yeah.
Yeah, they're probably going for a medal as well.
Yeah. So no, I think it was Russia was our first non-pool game. And with those, you don't get as much time, obviously, to scout the team. So it's a little bit trickier going in. But at the same time, you only need to win 1 game in the non-pool. You get 2 non-pool games.
Okay.
And if you win your first one, you avoid relegation. If you win your second one, you avoid relegation.
Okay.
And then if you lose those 2, then you're kind of like scraping down at the bottom.
And when was Ukraine? When was that game?
Oh no, it wasn't Ukraine. It was Russia.
Oh, sorry.
And then,
Sweden, or was it?
Russia, then Sweden.
Sorry,
Russia, Italy, then Sweden, then Bosnia.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know why I had Ukraine in my head. But talk us through the Swedish game. That was pretty special.
No, that was definitely the highlight of the tournament. We had just played Italy, and that game went down to the wire. Like we could have won that game, and that game would have secured like staying up.
Yeah.
We had a ton of parents that had flown over with us as well. And like even though the Euros were in Italy and we were playing Italy, like they were really, loud.
Really loud.
You knew they were there. It was amazing. It was a great
That's
atmosphere.
Lovely. Yeah.
And because the game was so tight as well, it was like really like it could have been a game in like Procol Hall or something, like,
Wow, yeah.
And everyone was very hyped for that game. So it was obviously like shocking, not shocking, but just like
disappointing
and kind of shattered us a little bit when we lost. And it was by single digits, I'd say, and we definitely had the beating of them.
Yeah,
it just felt like, being
really
in Italy,
deflating.
Being in Italy, they just pulled through it in like the last minute.
That's
definitely
always
deflating.
Yeah, it's always worse losing by a couple rather than like 20 or 30.
Yeah, exactly. And you can take the losses by 20 to France and Russia better than you take that loss, because we easily could have won it.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
After that, then we played Sweden, and same thing again. Game went down to the wire.
Yeah.
And if we lost that game, we were getting relegated. So this was like the
do or die.
Actual do or die game. And I remember fourth quarter, maybe like a minute left, and it was tight. And they had this one girl who probably had like 20 rebounds in the game, like 20 and 20 game or something. Like she was our main player.
Wow. Yeah.
And we didn't do the best job of guarding her, but like, we still contained her a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't remember, we were in the lead by a point, I think, and had the ball under our own basket, taking it in. And there was we had worked hard to get the lead. We got a basket. We were up a point. Yeah. And then we had the ball back under our basket. We'd forced a turnover, I think. So it was like, oh, the game's in the bag, like less than 24 seconds left. We just got to hold the ball.
Yeah, win the game. Yeah.
I'm not going to say any names or anything, but there was a mishap and someone passed the ball to someone who wasn't looking, or, one of those kind of things.
Yeah.
We got the ball back and ran in a layup. And now we were down 1. So called a timeout, and I was just like, I can't believe that. I was just like, I was in charge. Obviously, I wasn't on the court now, last 30 seconds of the game, it wasn't my time. But I was looking at like whoever was on the bench with me, and I was like, I can't believe we just threw this game. And I actually said that. I was like,
and you probably, and it was after the Italy game, and that probably didn't help either, because you were thinking of that game. Yeah.
I was like, we just needed this one, like, geez.
Yeah.
And then anyway, I should have been listening, but Patrick was trying to play and drawing up a play. So we'd taken the timeout, so we were going to advance the ball to the front court, and he was drawing up a play get the ball inbounds, and it was going to go to Dana, and maybe there was a screen in there too, but
Yeah.
basically, get the ball inbounds to Dana and just go from there. There's only like 10 seconds left.
Yeah.
So, and we all presumed that they were going to double Dana. Like, I vividly remember we were all like, yeah, they're obviously going to double Dana. She had 20 points at this stage, like.
Yeah.
So they go on court, run the play. Dana comes off the screen, it's wide open. They don't double her, and grabs the ball, rips it, like goes to the basket, and like finishes in like Dana style, just like falling this way, like left hand. It's like, oh my God. And now we're up one, and I'm like, at that stage there was only 2 seconds left. They threw the ball in and tried to get up the court, and it was just like fell short. And we all just stormed the court. Like, I could not believe it. I was like, we actually won that game. Like, why do you have to make it so hard on ourselves?
Yeah, I've heard say everyone, even it was nice as well. I didn't realize there would have been loads of parents there. I know some families would have gotten out, but that's really lovely as well after the game. Them all being there.
Expecting that at all, like, for so many families to come out, and even like some parents couldn't come out straight away, and maybe came out midweek, or some had to leave midweek, but like everyone made an effort to be there. It was like something I wasn't expecting at all. My whole family, of course, were there, like all 7 of them. So they took up most of the stand. But after the game it was amazing. We stormed the court, and there was like pictures and everything, and we were like clapping to the families in the stands. Like, it was a great feeling.
Yeah, I'd say so. And I'd say afterwards that night it was probably a bit of crack as well with the girls. Just I'd say everyone was just chuffed, obviously on cloud 9. Like,
yeah, exactly. You come back and there's a bit of relief off your shoulders that we have one win behind us, and we're not like relegated yet.
Yeah. And then how long in between did you have the Bosnia game?
I think maybe 2 days later.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was Bosnia. Yeah, I think it was Bosnia and Herzegovina. Yeah.
Yeah, and what happened that game?
So that game we started pretty badly, I remember. Yeah, we had probably a roster that was like not maybe 8 players deep, and then like 8 players deep in the crunch time, like everyone would get played, but Bosnia, I remember, I had maybe like literally six players that they would play, and a lot of them were guards, and they were kind of street ballers. Like, it took me by surprise. They were just doing their own thing a little, like every now and again, they'd be a bit flashy and pull up and score a 3, and you'd be kind of like, I didn't realize people do that at the Euros.
Yeah.
So they were exciting to watch, but obviously when you're playing against them, I was like, we need to kind of pull together a bit better. But we didn't start well, and I think we could have been down 20 at halftime. But we really pulled back in the 3rd and 4th quarter. Like, we got it to single digits. We really went on a run, but unfortunately it was not enough in the end, and I think we lost by about 8 or 9 points. But the big thing afterwards was just like, we really rallied, and that's all we could have asked for. Unfortunately then losing that game put us in 3rd last place. So I think the other 2 teams that were relegated were Sweden and I forget the other team, but Sweden were at the bottom, and then it was another team, and then it was us. So we just missed staying up by that 1 spot. So that was a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, I'd say so. And then, because you would have been that age again the following year,
I would have been able to go back.
Yeah. So then you were in 4th year, was it, for those Euros? Was it, or
5th year?
5th year. So then you came home when you're going into 6th year. And then when did the opportunity for the Hill School come up?
So I came back at the end of the Euros and took maybe 2 or 3 weeks off, went back to practicing with my local Limerick Celtics team. And in a training I went up to block a girl and collided with her in the air, came down and tore my ACL.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That's awful.
So
because I saw a picture of I think you were at the Hill School with a brace, so I was going to ask about that, but I didn't realise it was while you were still in Ireland in 6th year. Yeah,
so that put me out then for 9 months, and there was a glimpse of hope that I'd be able to get back for the Euros, but then for some reason they were brought forward. Like, usually they're in August, but they were brought forward to like I think it was early June the next year. or late
Okay.
June or something like that. So they were super early. And, once that came out, I was kind of like, I'm not gonna risk
Yeah.
coming back too early. Just like,
Just to
as much as
go.
I would love to go, it's really not clever in this like opportunity. So
Yeah.
um I'd already been talking to the Hill School, I think maybe during the summer when I was at
Hmm.
the Euros. I think I reached out to them at like Christmas of fifth year.
Hmm.
I reached out to a couple of schools and stayed in contact with them then. Was just giving them film and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, especially through the Euros and stuff like that. And then when the injury happened at the start of sixth year, I had to let them know.
Yeah.
And that was me basically out for all of sixth year then for like no basketball.
Yeah. Did you have much of an outlet at the time? Because even with 6 year, like when I was in 6 year, I could play sport and have an outlet.
Yeah.
What did you have anything you could do?
I mean, the rehab keeps you busier than you'd think. Like at the beginning, it starts off pretty light, like you're doing
Yeah.
like 2 kg squats,
Mm.
but after a while, like it builds up and you're spending a lot of time on the treadmill,
Okay.
like building up that stamina again, and not so much like breathing and like aerobic
Mm.
stamina, but just like step like your endurance on your knee
Hmm.
again,
Yeah.
and all the muscles there that haven't been doing anything for months.
Hmm.
So like you'd have to be on the treadmill for like 40 minutes, and that's something that I would never ever do. Like I would much rather go for a run
Yeah.
outside than go on a treadmill.
Hmm.
But something I just had to like put myself through because outside was like a big no-no because it's so like unstable and everything like that. So
Yeah.
on the treadmill for 40 minutes at a specific speed, and like I don't know how I did it honestly, because like I literally get ire thinking about it now. Like,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'd say
oh
mentally as well, it was just draining because if you're outside, you can whatever pass whoever
yeah,
and say hello and see
yeah.
all whatever is around you in Limerick.
Mhm.
But like when you're on the treadmill, you're in this probably little room, like just looking at the four wall, like or
Yeah,
Netflix.
so, yeah. I was a member at my local gym. Like when the injury happened, I knew I was gonna have to do all this rehab, so
Mm.
I joined the gym. And like it's just the treadmill. Just like I just don't see the point when you're like going and you're in the same spot for 40
Mm.
minutes when you could just go run outside, and
Mm.
you're like at least going doing like you feel like you're getting somewhere
Yeah, yeah,
rather than
exactly.
just being in the
Said
same spot.
it. Yeah,
But
yeah,
I had to get
exactly.
over it pretty quickly. Like,
Yeah. Mentally, was it? Did you find it tough, or was it more physical side?
um, no, mentally is definitely more difficult than physical, but physical is still hard.
Mm.
So I remember going to so I got my operation done in Santry about
Okay.
it was October of 2018, and I remember going back up for my 3 month checkup, and I felt I was doing well. Like I was doing all my exercises, I was progressing, and I got to Santry for my 3 month checkup, and it was just like I just expected it to go a lot better than it was.
Yeah.
Like I think some part of me wanted them to turn around and be like, "Yeah, you'll be back in 6 months," even though that's just unheard of and not a smart idea with ACL injury. But the discrepancy like between my right leg was my operated leg, so the discrepancy between
Okay.
my right and left was still like major. And like
Okay.
when I look back now, I'm like, of course it was. Like it's 3 months. Like you can only start doing stuff at like months like two. Like
Yeah.
you're on the bike. Like I don't know what I
Yeah,
expected,
yeah,
but I
you were
was
because it
still,
just shows how much you wanted to get back, and you were thinking
yeah,
they could have been like, oh, just go out play tomorrow, like you were grand.
yeah. Well, I was just deflated. Like I remember coming
Yeah.
home after the 3 month one, and I was just like, "What the hell? Like, what am I gonna do?"
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
I'm like literally dedicated myself to this,
Mm.
and like, am I ever gonna go back? All that stuff creeps in,
Mm. Yeah.
and only talking about it now, I'm realizing like how difficult it was because I really don't
Yeah.
like. I don't go back and relive that.
No, you don't. I'm injured at the moment, and those thoughts that you were saying, that's what I'm in at the moment, and it's like it's hard. It's
Yeah,
really hard, and
yeah.
you just and it's hard to see the end of the tunnel because I'm not running yet.
Hmm.
But when you do, like I'd say I found it demoralizing when you're used to doing squats, let's say with 10 or 20 kilograms, and
Hmm.
now they're like, just try getting a squat position. Mentally, you're like, I used to be able to do this with a weight, and now I can't even get
Hmm.
into the position. Whereas,
Yeah,
but now when you're starting to hit those goals, and you probably realize when you saw the discrepancies, right, I've loads to do, but then when you started to get to 2 and 4 and 6 and build the weights up, probably
yeah.
mentally that kind of kept you going as well.
Yeah, that was a big thing. Like with the running and stuff, like you start off just walking on the treadmill for 10 minutes,
Mm.
and then after maybe 2 weeks of doing that like 3 times a week, you go to like walking for 2 minutes, running for a minute, walking for two, running for one, or running for one. And you build up like that. And then at the end of it, you're doing 45 minutes of the treadmill running nonstop. And like, I wouldn't have been able to do that before I got injured. Like.
Yeah, I'd be the same. Yeah. And how did you find, when did you get back playing then? Was it the summer? Was it after, it would have been after June?
Yeah, during the summer then. So I was going to Irish team practices, and I went to the trials, I went to the practices after like the panel was selected and stuff.
Yeah.
And like Tommy O'Mahony was the coach, so I was just like keeping in touch with him, letting him know how my rehab's going.
Yeah. Did you find it hard going to the training and the matches, or was it kind of a good way to keep motivated?
A bit of both. Like, I didn't go to every single one of them because I was also like in 6th year.
Yeah.
So I went to maybe like ones that were close by, and if it was like a Saturday, Sunday, I'd go on one day.
Okay. Yeah.
And one was actually hosted in Limerick, so I went to that one too. So it was going just to kind of touch base with like, because like I'd be pretty friendly with all the girls on the team.
Yeah.
And Katie Williamson, who played in the Euros with me, was on that team. So we were in pretty close. So just keeping in touch with them, and just a reminder to myself, like, this is the level I need to, I'm pushing myself to get back to, you know. There's no need to rush it, but like, you know, this is where you want to be. So
don't lose sight of that. Yeah, exactly. And then how did you, so you kept in touch then with the Hill School and probably a couple of other coaches during the ACL, was it?
Yeah, so I let them know about the injury and stuff like that when it happened. And in my head, I kind of thought like, oh, you know, they're gonna lose interest or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was surprised to find, like, you know, it's kind of I don't want to say regular, but like it happens pretty regularly, you know, ACL injuries, and the recoveries are 99% of the time, you know, pretty straightforward. So it's not like it scared them off or anything, as much as I probably had thought in my head, but it was just, you know, okay, well, sorry to hear that, and you know, we're definitely like going to keep in touch and let me know how your rehab's going and stuff like that. And thankfully, I had a lot of film from when I was in 5th year, like from club games and stuff, and it's really like a blessing that because like when I say I got games filmed, like I brought my GoPro to the game and set it up and filmed the game myself. Like no one came in and held an iPad for me or anything. Like the odd occasion I'd catch a parent and was like, "Oh, you please video the game for me." But most of the time it was terrible quality on the GoPro. And the other thing is, like, some teams just get like annoyed when you video games. They're like, "Oh," because they think I'm trying to scout them like under 16, like fourth league. They think I want to take their place, like.
Oh God, yeah,
and
I can imagine.
We only like, and I'm putting them on YouTube, but I'm putting them like on unlisted. It's
unlisted,
not like search it up and find it. No one will ever find it unless I give them the link. So they're like, "Oh, we'll only let you keep the film if you give us the link." I'm like, "Yeah, grand, fine."
Yeah, you can look at me. You can watch me all you want. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, most of the time, so I just put on my GoPro in the corner of the gym, and people wouldn't think twice about it. But I was lucky that I did that in 5th year, because if I'd waited and said, you know, I'll leave it till 6th year, I wouldn't have any film.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I was lucky in that way.
Yeah, because a lot of people, was it Jordan Blount was saying he was trying to get, it was on the Hoop Folio podcast, he was trying to get his brother something in the States, but because he had no film, he couldn't. And that seems to be a really big thing in Ireland. Like, you really can't get film sometimes.
Yeah, it's not pushed in like in club games and stuff like that, and there's no reason for it not to be. Like, it's, even if like you don't have to use it to go and get recruited in a different country, like even just for yourself to be able to. That's what I found, like watching that film back and editing it and like taking clips or whatever. Like, I'm watching it back, I'm like, wow, I should have done that there, or why did I not do that? So like it's beneficial without the whole side of, you know, creating your own like film and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay, that's really interesting. So you wouldn't probably like knowingly sit down, right, I'm going to break down all of what I did this game, but kind of look when you were editing, geez, you know, I could have done this, or that was really good, I'm going to do that again.
Yeah, exactly. And when you're putting together like highlight film, you're going to see all the things you do right, but it's like you get more value in looking at things you did wrong. So like I'm going to go through the whole game anyway to get all my highlights. Why would I not look at parts where like I turned the ball over, or, you know, didn't box out, or you know, got caught on defense, whatever.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And then that summer, then how did it work in terms of them reaching out? So you would have been in the summer playing, probably like scrimmaging with your team or whatever. When did you decide to pick the Hill School, and when did you go over?
So I talked to maybe 3 or 4 schools, starting like Christmas of fifth year, and then talked to them through like the end of fifth year, not really during the summer, but like start of sixth year, then, just touching base with them again,
Yeah.
passing on any film from Euros and stuff like that. And I was lucky to have my film from fifth year, so they had seen me play. And then it was just like kind of contacting the coaches and setting up Skype interviews just
Okay.
to, get a feel for like the different schools and what they were looking for, like coming into their roster. So then I stuck with like 3 schools that were all in and around Hill School area. Because I
Okay.
also have cousins there. So that was kind of
Oh,
the
perfect.
anchor point, like for me, that I wanted to be around that area.
Deadly.
Just to be close to them in case something happened. So
Yeah.
I stuck with Hill and 2 other schools, and then then you do your SATs and everything here. I actually did them
Oh, you
in
did them.
Yeah, I did them
Okay.
in fifth year, in
Okay.
Dublin in Ireland, and then the whole application process kind of starts like a little bit into sixth year,
Okay.
and it's a lot of paperwork. Like, I'm not gonna lie, you kind
Oh,
of get
really?
swamped in it. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a lot
Right.
of paperwork and getting grades from like my secondary school, and filling out forms and getting recommendations and stuff like that, and putting it all together on your own is kind of it's a job in itself, like.
Yeah.
So getting all that done and applying to the schools, I think you have to apply before Christmas of sixth year. So I
Oh, so
had
it's
all
pretty early then. Yeah.
yeah, because your acceptances, I'm just thinking they come out in March of sixth
Okay.
year.
Yeah.
So I think I probably got everything in before Christmas. But yeah, there's a lot of paperwork and stuff like that. Like, you wouldn't be leaving it to last minute.
Yeah, yeah. And what are those, out of interest for people who might be thinking of going to prep school? What are those interviews like? Is it more you're asking questions to them, or they're trying to get a good sense of you as a person?
A bit of both. It's kind of informal when you're just like touching base with the coach, like at the beginning.
Yeah.
It would just be, getting to know you, like, are you actually the person on the film? Like,
Oh, yeah.
you
Okay.
know, are you able to hold a conversation? Are your parents the one kind of behind the emails? Just
Okay.
getting a kind of a value of you as a person. That's kind of the main thing. And then obviously you're asking questions about, because in the long run you want to go to a year prep school to go to college.
Yeah.
So you want to find out, like how good their connections are, and what,
Mm.
like, how many players they've sent to college and stuff like that, and how you'd be a good fit on their team, because you don't want to go pick at the school, go, and then not get enough playing time or not get what you're looking for.
Yeah, exactly. And John Carroll went to the Hill School. Did you ever reach out to him, or was that ever a connection there at all?
I kind of found out afterwards that was I knew of him, but I didn't realize that he went to Hill.
Mm.
So when I applied to Hill, it was only because like it was close to my cousins nearby.
Mm.
Um, and then I think I did reach out to him after I got in and like decided to go there.
Mm.
Yeah, I think I just touched base with him.
Yeah. And what made you pick the Hill School? Was there any particular reason? I know your cousins would have been around the couple of schools you were looking at.
Well, they brand themselves as the family boarding school, and
Okay.
I don't know how much I believe that going into it. Like,
You're a bit skeptical.
Americans tend to dramatize things anyway, but
Yeah.
that definitely stuck out. And they kind of the team that they had going into the year that I was going to be there, I knew I was going to get a lot of minutes because I would be
Okay.
on the older side. Like, they had a young enough team.
Mm.
Um, so that and the location kind of all played a part into why I went there.
And was that a postgrad year that you did?
Yeah, postgraduate.
What's the level of education like? Could you compare it to the Leaving Cert? What's that level like?
Yeah, it's a good question because their like system of testing and stuff is so different. Like the way I sat SATs for like just to go, like, to get into Hill. Like the SATs is equivalently their leaving cert,
Yeah.
because like you don't take one big test to get into college. Like
Yeah.
in America, you can you can apply to do anything in college. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing stopping you. Like with the CAO, if you don't get
There's
the points, you can't
requirements.
apply.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you don't if you don't have like a H something in whatever it is, you can't even do the subject, even if you get the
yeah.
points.
But if you
Yeah.
want medicine, like, and you just don't get the points, you can't
Yeah.
even apply. But like in America, you might have bad SAT scores and you might not have great grades because
Yeah.
they take all this into account when you're applying to college, like your recommendations, your grades from like third year onwards, and your recommendations and an essay and stuff like that. So it's
Mm-hmm.
a far bigger application than just a leaving cert.
Mm-hmm.
So nothing's stopping you from applying to any course you want, which I thought was
Yeah.
kind of interesting. And obviously they can do it because they're such a big country.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
the courses I was taking were as a postgrad, so I obviously like had all the like kind of requirements to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
So I took a couple college level courses and then just a couple ones that I was interested in myself, like US history
Mm-hmm.
and I think chemistry and Spanish as well. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd already done like 6 years of secondary school, so I
Yeah.
was kind of on the higher end of those classes, like, but they were still
Okay.
fun, like.
Yeah. And what was the schedule like with basketball in terms of training and matches and that sort of athletic side to the school?
Um, yeah, so one thing that I just like that they have in America that I just is just like so simple, but it makes so much sense is like they split up their seasons. So like
Okay.
I'd be playing school like hockey, like field hockey and
Mm-hmm.
basketball and soccer. And there'd be like some days where all three would clash and I'd
Mm-hmm.
have to choose like which game I wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a part of it, like you learn to just, you
Yeah.
know,
Prioritize.
exactly, and you just learn to like get used to it because
Mm-hmm.
for some reason your basketball coordinator of games and your hockey coordinator and soccer don't talk to each other for some reason,
Yeah.
and they want you to pick between three of them,
Yeah.
and it's an awful spot to be put in. But like
Definitely.
in America, they split it up so there's certain sports that are played in fall, certain that are played in winter, and certain that are played in spring. Basketball is winter, obviously. So in the fall, when you go there, you can go and train on the basketball court yourself and like, do workouts with your teammates and stuff and your
Yeah.
coaches on your own time, but you have to be enrolled in a fall activity. So for me,
Okay.
I chose strength conditioning. Um, and it's just so like clever. Like
Yeah.
I
I really
don't
like
get why they
that.
don't do that here at all,
Yeah.
because then you just get the best of like every opportunity. And then obviously it sucks then if like say your two sports are like tennis and baseball, like they're both on the same season,
Yeah.
but like at least you get an opportunity to play three sports like to the fullest potential.
Definitely. And were you the only international student on your team, or was there anyone else?
On my team we had a junior, so I was a senior slash postgrad. We had a
Okay.
junior who was from Spain, Elena, and then there was a boy on the boys basketball team from Germany. He was a postgrad like me.
Okay.
Um, and then a lot of international students throughout the school, but they were the only kind of seniors.
Okay, yeah. And we had a good question in from Matthew. He wants to know what's the difference in mentality at club and college level in the US compared to Ireland.
Um, I think with club level here, you just like you don't know, like you can't rely on everyone to be as invested as you are.
Yeah.
So you could like in the same way as if I went to college here, like if I went to UL, uh, I could be playing on the same team as someone who picked up basketball in college because now they have all this free time and they want to just play
Yeah.
college basketball, or they want to play basketball again because they haven't played it since, fifth year.
Mm.
Um, and so you can't count on, there being people on your college team that will be better than you that will, make you better.
Yeah.
So in that way, like going to college in the States, you know that, the people older than you on your team are 99% of the time going to be better than you and have more experience and, be able to beat you up in practice so that you get better,
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
not,
I
you
know
just
what you're
have that
saying.
kind of fallback here that you can rely on that.
Yeah. And did you play against Enya Maguire that year when you were in the Hill? Because I know
Yeah.
you probably would have you played against each other. That must
Yeah,
have been
that was
cool.
so cool. That was so
Yeah.
cool playing against her over there because like it's just something that you never would have thought would ever happen.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a coincidence too. So her older sister went to the Hun school and that school's in New Jersey. So it's not
Yeah.
even the same state, but we just happen to be in the same league because it's a league just for prep schools. Like you wouldn't play
Oh,
any public
okay.
schools in that league.
Yeah.
So yeah, so when I went to Hill, I actually ended up tweaking my knee first game of the season.
Oh, sugar.
So I was out for another 12 weeks, so I didn't get to play till after Christmas. So I got half a season, but
Okay.
that's another story. Um, and Enya was actually out as well for a while because she hurt her hand. So we were both
Okay.
only playing till like we both only started playing after Christmas of that year.
Yeah.
And then I think Hun was like our third or fourth game on our schedule. It would have been in January, early February.
Okay.
And yeah, we played at Hun, so it was an away game for me.
Yeah.
But that was so cool that game. And we both like were the oldest on our team, so obviously we're like one of the better players. So we
Yeah.
kind of went against each other. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Kind of like you were probably marking each other then.
Yeah, a little bit. They played zone, of course, which I did not like, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That was cool. That was definitely cool. And then we had a good question in from Emily as well. What does it take to get a basketball scholarship? Can you also take us through maybe the recruiting process?
Yeah, sure. So for me, it was a little different because I got injured early
Mm.
in the season in Hill, but and like my film that I had from fifth year wasn't really going to be anything that would catch any coach's eyes because it was from so long ago.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like I don't think people realize like how much legwork goes into it. Like I probably sent anywhere between like 300, 400 emails like
Wow.
in the whole year to like head coaches, associate coaches, assistant coaches,
Yeah.
recruiting like coordinators in schools that I was interested
Mhm.
um like close by and like in other leagues that maybe weren't as close by, but you
Mhm.
just gotta like send as many as you can, like
Mhm.
increase your
Yeah.
chances of getting a call back. And same with my coach at Hill.
Mhm.
Once I got film, obviously putting that together and giving it to her, and she sends it to all her contacts that she has in colleges. But when you go and you're there for only 1 year, like your chances are like it's you're already on the back foot when you get there, because
Yeah.
people don't realize is like a lot of kids in the US have their offers from like their junior year, so their fifth year,
Yeah.
and they already have an idea of where they're going by
Mhm.
the time they get into sixth year. Um, and coaches aren't really looking at like seniors and stuff because they want to get them early, and like they're looking at them earlier.
Mhm. Yeah, they're kind of like they nearly already have their team or that recruiting class sorted by the time you're a
Exactly. Yeah.
postgrad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way to describe it. They have their recruitment class like an idea of who they want by the time they get into their senior year. So they can watch them their senior year and then they know
Yeah.
what they're getting, like.
And then, so who got in contact back? Who was kind of the interest and who kind of offered? Because I know you're is it Shippensburg? I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm pronouncing that right.
No, you're fine. So once I got film out and stuff, I would be sending out to the same coaches again, like,
Yeah.
and I got a good bit of interest back from kind of lower Division One schools who just wanted to see more films. Then you send them full games because that first email
Okay.
you send them would usually be like just clips, like highlight clips,
Okay. Yeah.
and like a really short paragraph. Because if they see anything long coming in, they're just not going to open it.
Okay.
Um, so it's like one or two lines and your film, and then you get a couple. I got a couple like replies from kind of schools in like the MAC conference and
Mhm.
the America East, but in the A10 as well. But a lot of them, so they look for full games and then they might not get back to you because they might see the whole thing, not be interested, which
Okay.
is a part of
Yeah.
it. And then a couple schools offer me, but as a walk on, so not a
Okay.
non-scholarship player.
Yeah, and that's big money if you're doing a
Yeah,
walk
that
on.
was not an option
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
But there's like also the thought that like you could go as a non-scholarship player and earn a scholarship, but at the same
Okay.
time, like it's not like given that they're going to give you a scholarship after a couple of years. Like
Yeah.
they could
Yeah.
screw you over and not give you one.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
so and then I reached out to a load of Division Two schools beside like around in the round area too. And my coaches obviously were helping me with this the whole time. But took a couple of visits to a school in New York, a Division 2 school in New York and a Division 2 school in Philadelphia. And I didn't actually get to visit Shippensburg before I came home in March for spring break and then ended up going back.
Yeah.
So when I came back here and it turned out that it started to look like I wouldn't be going back and I wouldn't be able to do any more visits. I kind of turned my attention to whoever I was talking to at that moment. And at that stage they were kind of setting up like virtual tours and stuff like that for school. So I did a little bit of that, but to be honest, it's really came down to just like what coaches, gave me the right energy and like without just feeding me everything that I wanted to hear, like, said the right things and, sounded most on par with what I was looking for in school. And I'm a civil engineering major, so that kind of cut out a couple of schools anyway that didn't have engineering departments.
Yeah.
So that was like a good filter. But just getting the best of, like a competitive program with somewhere that I can actually play. Because I wasn't, like, after sitting out with an ACL injury and 12 weeks with a meniscus injury that earlier that year, I wasn't going to go anywhere where I was riding the bench. Because at this stage now, I haven't played basketball competitively in almost like 2 years, besides a couple games I got at Hill.
Yeah, exactly. So you weren't gonna sit down. You wanted to like get a game, get your minutes. Like,
I wanted to go somewhere I could play. Yeah.
Yeah. Out of interest, what goes into like a college visit? What, like, obviously you'll see the facilities and you'll see the campus, but what do you actually do? Like, obviously this was before COVID. Now, before it was all virtual.
Yeah. So you set up with the coach to go at a weekend. Usually a weekend when they have a game. So my uncle was able to bring me to the one in New York, and you go, you watch the game. Actually, usually you meet the team beforehand, or get a tour of the college and the facilities and stuff like that before the game. Then stay around, watch the game. And then for one of my visits, I actually stayed the night. They'd be kind of common with like visits for athletes. So like you do an overnight and you'd stay with the team and get to know them and watch them practice, or like I said, in a game, get food with them, stuff like that. Just chill with them, just get to know them, see what it's kind of like behind closed doors. And for one of my visits I did it overnight, and then for the other two I just stayed for the day and had a couple of conversations with the team, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, yeah. And what was there any major deciding factor? I know you kind of mentioned like because you're doing engineering and like you want to play and the coach. Was there any specific reason why you picked Shippensburg?
It just was the most opportune option that I had. I was able to get the degree I wanted because there was one school that one Division 1 school, because I went to Hill and I wanted a Division 1 scholarship. That was my ultimate goal.
Okay.
I wasn't going to decline any Division 2 offers that were going to pay for me to go to college, but at the same time, I set my sights at Division 1. Obviously getting injured and stuff like that kind of made things more difficult, but there was one Division 1 school I was talking to right up until the end, and they didn't have engineering. And I was like, what am I going to sacrifice here? I go to this school, I might not play as much as if I went to Shippensburg. I probably will have to transfer after a year or two if I do still want to do engineering. And at the end of the day, I'm going to college, I'm not going to an NBA or WNBA team or anything like that. So I'm not going to sacrifice, what I want to do, because I knew that I wanted to do engineering, and I knew I shouldn't talk myself out of that.
Okay.
So it came down to Ship and one of those Division 1 schools and a couple of the Division 2s. So you just want to get the right balance of the right academics, the good coaching staff that you feel you'll get along with and have good relationships with, and a team that is competitive. And like the year before I went to I came to Ship, they had won the conference that they were in for like 3 out of the last like 6 or 7 years. So like
Okay.
they
Yeah.
constantly have good like talent coming in. It's not like they're just like on a like a one season high, where they
Yeah.
won and then they're bad for another 5 years.
Yeah.
So just kind of that consistency in the program and
Hmm.
the coaching staff and on like off the court, good academics and what you're looking for in a college course.
Yeah, exactly. And when, because you came home in March, obviously because of COVID, when did you get to go back to the States? Did you have any issues getting over either?
Um, no, so I stayed at home. So like at the beginning they told us, we're taking a 2 week extra long spring break and then we'll go
Yeah.
from there. And then it was extended for a month and then you knew by then, you weren't gonna go back to school.
Okay.
So and all my stuff was still at Hill. Like I literally brought home
Oh,
2 weeks worth of clothes and that was it.
oh no. Yeah.
So yeah, all that was still at school, which was annoying. But I was lucky that I have my sister here who kindly let me all my clothes. But all my stuff was still left over there, and I stayed here through the summer, um, trained and stuff like that as much as I could. Like in lockdown, it was mostly out the back,
Yeah.
um, on my hoop that like whatever you throw at the backboard, it'll go in, like so bad. But I made do with it, like. But yeah, so I went back as we were approaching August, I was kind of like the embassy still wasn't opening
Yeah.
and I was wondering like how that was going down. I was kind of pushing it off. I was like, oh, it'll work itself out. But my mom was more worried about it than me, and I knew that like Brona was in the same position as me, like she was going back to Holy Cross. So I like reached out to her and was like, what do you think about this whole thing?
Yeah.
And she was pretty chilled about it too. I was like, yeah, it'll
You're
work itself
grand.
out. But like my classes were starting earlier because they wanted to be done our fall semester before Thanksgiving. They didn't want to have Thanksgiving. Like they didn't want everyone going
Okay.
home for Thanksgiving and then coming back to campus because that would be just a COVID hotspot
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
too much
Yeah.
mingling and everything like that. So they wanted to have the whole semester done before Thanksgiving, which is usually the last weekend in November.
Hmm.
Um, so they then plan on starting classes early, so it brought classes forward to like maybe the second week in August.
Hmm.
Um, so for me to go over and quarantine for 2 weeks before classes started, I'd have to leave like beginning of August.
Yeah.
So that kind of brought like a little bit of panic because once that email came out from the school, I was like, okay, I need to get my my visa like together. And
Yeah.
I wasn't too sure the ins and outs of like what I needed to change because your visa, your student visa lasts for like 5 or 6 years, I'm pretty sure. So I
Okay.
didn't know if I had to change the name on it to Shippensburg because it said Hill. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
and there was just a lot of questions I had, and the resources that you have online for the like visas and the embassy in Ireland are not very comprehensive. And to
Okay.
get someone on the phone is so difficult. Like you're ringing someone in America, like, and it's just like, oh,
Sounds like a
it's
mess.
so
Yeah.
annoying. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it has to be done. I get it, but it's just like there was a reason I was leaving it till like last minute. I didn't want to deal with it, like. But at the end of the day, I was lucky because there's all this controversy going around about um with the travel ban that was put in place
Yeah.
like back in March, that students were going to be exempt from that because you've all these international students, not just me, like from all around Europe that were banned from going into the United States when the United States had a lot more cases than some countries in Europe.
Yeah.
Uh, so it needed to be amended in some way. And luckily enough, they about a week before August 1st, like the last week in July,
Hmm.
um they said that any students flying back with an F1 visa, which is a student visa, would be admitted like into the United States.
Okay.
So that kind of gave me the all clear to go, and I
Yeah.
literally booked my flight for a week later. And saying that, like I still spent an hour or something in immigration in Dublin Airport because they all obviously like all the immigration and clearance and stuff is done on this side of the border. So when you get over there,
Yeah.
you just leave.
Hmm.
But yeah, so like there was no queues or anything, but I got to customs immigration and they took all my documents and everything, a lot of like proof that I'm actually going to college and
Hmm.
what I was doing last year, passport, visa, everything like that. And went through it like I was brought into a back room where they'd like interrogate people, but like
Oh
not like
God.
I wasn't put into that room. It was like a waiting
Yeah,
area,
but
you
like,
know.
okay,
But
right.
it was like a security guard had to swipe his. I hope I'm not allowed, like I'm allowed to say this.
Dublin
A
Airport would be
security
like, what are you
guard,
doing?
security guard had to like swipe his card and brought me into like another room, and there was like 3 or 4 people there, waiting as
Okay.
well. And
God,
I was there for
that's
maybe
scary
45
though.
minutes, and I was like, I hope I don't miss my plane because like I
Yeah.
arrived to the airport extra early because
Okay.
of all this commotion. And about 45 minutes later, like you're just sitting there and there's no like it'll be allowed about this long. Like it was just okay, like sit down there. And they took my
Yeah.
stuff and left, and I was like, oh,
God.
okay.
Yeah.
And like time goes really slow because you don't know how long you're gonna be waiting.
Yeah.
But eventually like an officer came back, gave me my stuff, and was like, yeah, you're clear to go. And I had about 15 minutes to get to my gate. Like it was tight
Sugar.
enough
Yeah.
considering I left a
God.
lot of time. But yeah, it was all clear from then on.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's scary. Even if like
Yeah.
you were just sitting in that room, that's really scary. Like, and not knowing if you're gonna miss your flight. And I'd say you were looking at your phone, like, oh God.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
actually, I wasn't allowed to look at my phone. You were not allowed any flat like photography back in this room, and it was
Oh
all
right.
on like, the walls and everything. So it was kind of scary.
Yeah.
But
I'd say that's mad. And then
yeah,
where did you fly into? Where was your flight to?
there was only flights to like normally like for Christmas at Hill, I flew to Philadelphia because it was like
Oh,
only
okay.
45 minutes from Hill.
Mm.
But at this stage there was only flights to like Boston and Chicago and New York. So I flew to JFK, and then my uncle was able to bring me from JFK to get my stuff at Hill first. My stuff from
Oh
Hill
yeah.
I got sent to my uncle's house.
Okay.
That was great having him there.
Yeah.
So then I picked up all my stuff there, drove to Shippensburg, which was another like 2 hours, and got set up and started my quarantine.
And there was 2 weeks for that, was it?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Oh God. Yeah, I'd say you were probably a bit bored, were you?
It was funny because it was like it was my first time seeing the campus. So
Oh yeah, sure you didn't get to visit. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so like obviously I stayed in my room and stuff, but
Yeah.
when I would go out and I'd have to like collect my meal or whatever for my meals for the day, it
Mm.
would just be interesting like looking around campus and be like, oh,
This looks lovely.
we had that, and that's actually really nice. Like it's my first time seeing everything. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's good. And when did you were saying to me before we hit record about the whole practices thing? Can you take us through what sort of happened with the season, with the practices, with all the games and stuff?
So at the beginning when we started like strength and conditioning and stuff like that, and in the weight room and practices, there was no like real concrete setup for how that would work in the school.
Mm.
Um, so we were really good for a long time. We had very low cases. So with that, we were able to like allow access to the court and like the gun and stuff like that for rebounding. But it
Mm-hmm.
was only one per basket.
Oh, okay.
So you couldn't go with anyone. And like it's only like university to university, this varies. So this was just our administration decided this.
Okay.
So this was what they felt was best. So only one to a basket, and um yeah, there's only certain hours you could go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then we all like 3 times a week we had strength together as a team.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like if we're gonna be as a team, all this like with our masks on and everything. Oh, that was the other thing. Everything like strength conditioning, anything on the court was always with a mask on.
That's mad.
Yeah.
It's probably hard as well because you're like, if you're working out, whatever, you're getting tired, whatever. But if you have the mask on, it's a little bit harder to breathe. It's not crazy hard, but like it's not
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it's difficult. But
Yeah.
so we had like the strength and conditioning setup was pretty routine. So it was like 3 times a week,
Mm.
set time, everyone was there. But then when it came to the basketball side of things, it was more strict. It was, you had to set up certain times, and what to basket, you couldn't go with anyone else. And that was
Okay.
probably for the first 2 months.
Yeah.
And then the university let up a little bit when they saw that, we were doing well, we weren't having huge cases. We were able to start having practices in small groups. So it was like 5 and 5. So you'd be
Yeah.
on like 2 days a week on
Mm-hmm.
top of your strength. Um, and then of course, just as things would be going good, we got a case on our team or something like, or another team got a case, and we had just been in the weight room after them. So
Yeah.
we were all, cautioned for a week. and everything was shut down for a week until, you know, everyone got tested.
Mm.
So that was where a lot of the stops started happening then.
And then who made the decision about the games? Was that the actual conference, or was that more the school, or how did that work?
That was the conference. But one of the biggest schools in our conference, Westchester, pulled out of all winter and spring sports like in
Oh wow.
October, or yeah, I think it probably was October.
Okay.
And when they pulled out, it was kind of like shocking because it was a little bit out of nowhere
Mm.
and kind of just shook the scales not in our favor. So then when it came to the decision of making a call for the entire conference, I think like maybe if they were still like committed to playing in winter and spring, it still might have gone ahead, but it still might have been cancelled.
Yeah.
But it just wasn't a good sign when they pulled out.
Yeah. And so they must have pulled out, was it October time, was it?
Yeah,
Or and then when did you kind of decide to come home?
it was early October, I think they pulled out, and then our decision came out late October.
Okay.
Yeah, roughly then. And I had two scenarios like in my head. Like if our season went ahead, I would have to be back like December 28th or something like that. So there's no way I was gonna go home and quarantine and come back and quarantine and have
Yeah.
enough time. So I was just gonna stay. I was gonna stay with my cousins for Thanksgiving regardless because I'd exams after Thanksgiving
Okay.
online. So I was staying till the end of November anyway. And then if the season was cancelled, I was gonna come home and go from there. Like whether I come back in spring would depend.
Hmm.
Um, and then if we did have a season, I was just gonna go back to campus after Christmas.
Okay, very good. And what's the plan then at the moment? Is your plan just to go back in the summer then and just keep going with online school and home workouts and stuff?
Yeah, basically. So, um, probably early, like late July, early August, go back and hopefully it's more like a normal season than it was this year.
Yeah.
So getting that like some preseason training in and then when like late October, November comes, we actually have a schedule.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And looking towards the future, I know you said in your interview with Basketball Ireland kind of your goals. Can you take us through some of them and kind of give the listeners a bit of insight?
Yeah, so hopefully, depending on how things go in the next 2 weeks, they decide on whether they're going to have a Euros for under 20s or not.
Mm.
And for me, this is my last year, I'm pretty sure, of underage basketball.
Mm.
So I'm really crossing my fingers that it goes ahead and we actually have trials and I can at least, attempt to make be given an opportunity to go and make the team because,
Yeah.
I feel like I've been kind of unlucky the last couple of years with injuries and I know COVID applies to everyone, but
Yeah.
I would just really love another opportunity like of underage basketball to represent my country.
Mm.
And then looking down the line, obviously I want to, win a PSAC championship with SHIP, which is like our conference.
Mm-hmm.
We've been pretty like competitive the last few years, but I've come short a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So winning a conference title with them would be amazing, and then going on to an NCAA tournament, which like I've idolized for years, and I
Yeah.
don't think I'd fully be able to believe it if I actually was in one. But that would be like that's just like
That's the dream.
yeah, that would
Yeah.
just be class. Like
That'd be really cool. I've taken something else from your interview which I really liked. It was your quote, or I think it was advice or quote or something. Don't rely on motivation because it will come and go. Discipline is what brings the results in the long run. Talk us through that. Where did that come from? Because I thought that was really insightful and philosophical.
yeah, well, I guess just like if everyone just did stuff when they felt like it, like nothing would get done.
Yeah.
And there's so many mornings that I go to the gym and I just do not want to be there.
Yeah.
Like way more than I would like to admit. Like there's so many mornings where I was just like, you know what? Like I'm good at basketball. Like if I just stay in bed, I'll actually be fine. This one workout isn't going to
Yeah.
determine whether I'm good or bad at basketball.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
like in those moments, it's just like having the strength of mind to just say, you know what,
Yeah.
just go.
Yeah.
So that comes down to discipline. That's not motivation, like
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Motivation's great to get you started and say, you know what, I'm gonna commit myself to getting better this summer, whatever it is. But like it's the discipline and the habits that you build that like get you to the gym. And once
Mm.
you're there, like you're gonna go and once you're there, anything is better than nothing.
Yeah,
So once you get there,
exactly.
you're motivated to put in a quality workout because you're there at that stage.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
getting there,
Yeah,
and
getting out of bed.
yeah, exactly. And then once it
Yeah,
becomes ingrained in your habits, it's like, well, I only went to the gym like 4 times last week. Like I should be going five. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. I love it. That's really good, especially for any players that are listening, especially younger players that I mentioned before want to play. And I've taken out your another part, your toughest opponent. Talk us through. Is it Dominique Darius? Have I got that one right?
Yeah, yeah.
Is she in UCLA?
Yeah.
How did you play against her? When was
She
this?
went to she played for a team that we played in our conference in our league at Hill.
Okay.
So she's actually a year below me. I was a senior when she was a junior, and she
Oh,
played
okay.
for Blair Academy, and they attract like the top prospects in the US. Like they won our
Okay.
league every year, but like they're a machine. Like
Okay.
they fly to California like and play
Oh
like
wow.
Spirit Canyon where LeBron James's kids like went
Wow.
to. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're a
that's
top team,
class.
especially their boys team too. Like their boys team last year when they played our team, I got the chance to see some of them play and like they're just insane. Like one of them's going
Really.
to one of them's at Stanford this year,
Wow.
playing basketball, and I'm pretty sure they had a number of juniors that were like top prospects too.
That's
But yeah,
class. What made
she
her so special? Sorry, I was cutting across you there.
no, you're fine. Her and another girl another girl of her teammates, Olivia Miles, she's at Notre Dame right now for
Oh
basketball.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
insane. So
Jeannie
them two were
Mac.
on the same team.
Yeah. Jeannie
So
Mac.
yeah, we lost that game,
Yeah,
surprisingly.
well,
But
well, I don't know what you could have done really. Like I don't
yeah.
even but like
So
that's mad.
yeah, they were just like it was just like a video game, you know? Like
Yeah.
stuff like when I'm working out and training and stuff, like I'm doing these moves, and
Yeah.
in my head, like I'm like thinking I look a certain way, but then if you video it and you watch it back, you're like going a little bit slower than you thought you were. These girls
Hmm.
just move like video games, like Dominique especially because she was just so like fundamentally good. Like
Yeah.
she was good on defense. She was long. She's probably like 5'10", yeah, probably like 5'9", 5'10", but
Mm.
like long player, like knock down threes,
Yeah.
had a really good pull up game. Like that was
Mm.
what I loved most better. Like she wasn't flashy
Okay.
and she was able to just manipulate screens, like play at her own pace and
Mm.
just knock down mid range shots. And like there was nothing you could do.
Yeah.
She so good, so good.
She was probably nearly controlling the game. I always find like the top players when you're watching them, like you're watching college or anything, they nearly like dictate the speed of the game. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like it doesn't really matter
Yeah,
what you're gonna do because they're just gonna go and do what they want.
exactly. Yeah. And so she was a junior when we played her, but because of COVID and everything, she graduated a semester early. So now
Oh, okay.
she should actually be in her senior year in high school right now, and
Oh my
she's
god,
playing for UCLA, who are ranked fifth in America in college basketball. Like
that's crazy.
insane. Yeah.
Yeah. What college basketball teams do you follow? Obviously, apart from Shippensburg, who would you have
Um.
watched when you were growing up?
Oh, Duke men's
Yeah.
basketball. Like
Okay.
I got so many Duke shirts. Like they're just the
Yeah. Yeah.
epitome of college basketball, and like bleed blue, like that like whole energy. Oh, love it.
Yeah. Did you watch their YouTube series Blue Planet or is it Duke Blue
Yeah,
Planet
yeah,
or something?
yeah.
I love watching that. It's so cool.
So cool. Yeah. And then on the women's side of things, obviously like UConn and
Yeah.
um who else? UConn, Oregon. I like watching Oregon.
Mm.
Um, UConn men's team I actually really like too. They're
Yeah,
really good.
they had a good was it I think it was a documentary, it could have been a short video on Kemba Walker when he was
Oh yeah,
there and Shabazz Napier, like crazy
yeah.
stuff. Yeah. So we're going to move on to sideline 7. It's the same 7 questions for every single guest. I'm going to start off with question 1. What is your favorite quote?
Ooh, favorite quote. Michael Jordan. I never lost a game. I only ran out of time.
Are you a big Michael Jordan fan?
Oh yeah, 100%. Watched the whole series. I was only like regretful that I couldn't like watch him like during his prime, like live.
Yeah.
Like you watch it back now and like there's all the kind of nostalgia and everything that goes into it. Like, but watching him like in his prime would have
Yeah.
just been like, something else.
Imagine if social media was a thing back in his prime. Like
I
that would have
know.
been, that's someone, I can't remember, someone said it on Twitter and I was just thinking like Twitter would just like blow up some nights with
Exactly.
what he's doing.
Yeah.
Best sporting event you've been to?
Probably the Euros. Yeah.
Yeah, just the special atmosphere and everything.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's like what you mean by like I was at them, but I was playing them. But I mean, the whole atmosphere and like the experience and like the like emotional side to it that goes to it, but like representing your country was just like nothing comes close to that.
Yeah. Is there anything maybe as a fan that really stood out as well?
Um, Probably my first NCAA game that I went to. So my uncle took me to Stony Brook Brown college basketball game, and like they're two mid majors,
Yeah,
but like just going to my first like Division 1 game, like the whole experience, watching it live after watching it on, it was more like just personal to me, like watching
yeah,
it in person after years of watching it like through a screen, and I just couldn't
yeah,
believe I was actually there. Like,
yeah. Especially here with all the dodgy streams because we don't get
oh
much
yeah,
college basketball on RTE.
100%, 100%.
Your biggest achievement on or off the court?
Um, Probably making my first Irish team, like making the first like final 12.
Yeah. Do you think it made it sweeter that you had that moment where you choked and then you made the team?
Yeah, definitely that like I think I was the only one that went to the open trial
Mm.
that like because there was a bunch of girls already selected from like, um tournaments where like with like teams like, East and Midlands and
Hmm.
South and stuff like that, and I was the only one from the open trials that ended up on the final 12.
Yeah.
So that just
Oh,
kind of that's something I kind of, was like proud of.
yeah. If I could go back and if you could go back in time and, to yourself when you were on the B team and under 12 and say, you're going to do all this and you're going to go to America, what do you think you'd say? You'd probably tell me to go away or something.
I don't know. I think I'd be like, I don't think I'd want anyone to say that to me because then I wouldn't have worked as hard as I did. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So I think I'm like a big believer in like everything happens for a reason. So
Yeah.
the fact that I was on that 12B team, that was where I was meant to be at that time.
Yeah. 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 That's a good mentality to have. Uh, Next question. Biggest setback or challenge so far in your career? I think I skipped that one.
Oh, definitely ACL. Yeah.
Mm.
Just literally like what I felt was like my prime coming off that under 18 team where I didn't probably like I didn't play as much as I wanted to, but like,
Mm.
rightfully so, like I was the 10th or 11th best person on that team.
Mm.
But I was so looking forward to taking everything I'd learned from that 2-year program onto a team where I was of my own age, like I was
Yeah.
17 on the under 18 team. I would have just loved the opportunity to take all that I had from that whole experience and bring it to that Euros the next year.
Yeah.
And the ACL just got on the way.
Yeah. Out of interest, for that under 20 European Championships, hopefully it goes ahead. Is that Division A because they won the bronze medal
Yeah.
back? Would be
Yeah.
two. Okay. Yeah. So
So
fingers crossed you make the team and everything goes ahead.
yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. When is there a particular date that they're going to decide by, or is it just kind of whenever they
I
say?
think it's coming up soon. I think it's like up to FIBA whether they
Oh,
decide to go
okay.
ahead with it. And then it filters down to Basketball Ireland and then yeah, see where it goes from
Okay. Yeah. Fingers crossed. Big or advice to your 18-year-old self.
there. Well, I'm only 19, so
Oh.
uh, maybe you're gonna be home for longer than you think. Goes home.
Bring your stuff home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dream dinner guest and why?
Ooh, probably Kyrie Irving.
Okay.
He's like obviously he's a Duke alum and
Yeah.
he he just is so much more than a basketball player. Like
Yeah.
he does so much off the court that I'd love to like quiz him about,
Yeah.
his like intentions and thoughts and everything about stuff like beyond basketball. But even in basketball itself, like just like he's probably the best handle of all time or the best that I've seen, like
Yeah.
not in person but like at that time in basketball.
Hmm.
Um and like people could practice ball handling drills like till the day they die and not have as good as a handle as he does and
Yeah.
just flashy but in the like most efficient way possible. And
Yeah.
that's what I really like about him.
Yeah. Did you ever see him doing the dribbling with the plastic bag on the ball?
Yeah, I did that as a kid. Yeah.
I did as well. It was awful. I was so bad.
So hard, so hard.
Yeah. Dream, or we already said that one. If your life was a book, what chapter would this be called?
Oh, um, probably, I don't know, something about obstacles and just sticking it through. Because
Okay.
the last, depending on how long you take this chapter to be, like the last 2 or 3 years, like I said, I haven't played a full season of competitive basketball since like 2017, 18.
Yeah.
So 18, 19 was ACL, 19, 20 I got half a season my with tweaking my knee, and then no season again this year. So just persevering and keeping that consistency, like, just stay ready. That's what I call it, like stay ready, you
Yeah.
know, put the work in now. Don't take time off because, you don't know when you're going to get back. Like,
Mm.
stay ready now so that when the opportunity comes, you're ready to play.
Yeah, I love that. Kira actually she just reminded me there, um, where do you see yourself in 10 years' time? Is there any particular, I know we talked about the goals, but is there anywhere, like, would you ever coach? What is the sort of longer term ambitions you have?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm open to anything. Like, I'm getting
Mm.
my degree in engineering, but
Mm.
um I do see myself probably sometime in the future coaching, because I'd love to just, dip my feet in it, see how well
Yeah.
I get on. Like, sometimes good players aren't good coaches,
Yeah.
and the opposite's true too. Like, bad players are good coaches, but
Mm.
to try it out and, see how it goes. But hopefully, like, after college, maybe go on and get a master's. Oh, actually, I will be getting a master's because this whole year doesn't count towards my eligibility for the NCAA. So
Yeah.
probably get a master's, and depending then how things are, maybe go and play a couple of years like professionally
Mm.
overseas, and like, get a bit of life experience or whatever. But in the long term, like, I see myself, coming back to Ireland, staying here,
Yeah.
representing like the national team, hopefully.
Mm.
And yeah, just playing for long as I can.
Deadly. Look, Eve, we've gone on for so long. Thank you so much for your time,
No
and we'll
problem.
definitely keep in touch. And happy St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, you too. Thanks so much, Marla.
A massive thank you to Eve for coming on today. I thoroughly enjoyed our chat, so I hope you did too. She gave some really good advice there for people going through injury, looking to play for Ireland, or hoping to go to the States. If you would like to keep up with Eve's season, I'll be sure to leave the social media and website for the Shippensburg University Women's Basketball Team in the description box below, and just want to wish her continued success both on and off the court. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts and you did enjoy the episode, be sure to leave a rating and a review. If you're interested in starting up your own podcast, be sure to get in touch with the Primal Productions team over on Instagram at Primal Pro.